Hey everyone, Morgan here from Simple Networks. Today we're going to talk about Vonage's business voice over IP phone service and whether it's actually a good option for your small business. Now I am doing this video in kind of a different style today. We're going to go presentation style, so let me know what you think about that in the comments below. Alright, so the premise of this video is we're going to be comparing Vonage's voice over IP service to a more traditional PBX box that you would have on site. We're going to talk about the differences in functionality as well as the differences in price, both very important things, especially for small businesses. So first we have to understand what Vonage Unified Communications is and how the platform works. So Vonage Unified Communications is a cloud-based phone service. Vonage is not the only provider who does this, but they're a popular one, and they're the ones that we use at the small business I work for. And the basic premise is no on-site equipment aside from your desk phone. So you do not have a PBX box sitting in your network closet that you had to configure. You have your desk phones, you plug them into your Ethernet switch or give them internet access somehow, and they go out, contact Vonage's servers, Vonage's cloud-based system, and configure and run off of their system, which is pretty cool. And you get to manage this all through an online portal. So if you want to assign extensions or manage users, all of that is done through their online portal. You don't have to configure any of that locally. All right, so like with any service, there are both benefits and downsides to Vonage's service. Let's start with benefits though. One of the biggest benefits is no on-site equipment. So you don't actually have to go out and buy or build a PBX device to host on-site like in your network closet or anything like that. The only equipment you need are your desk phones. Your desk phones are leased for free, so when you sign up for your Vonage plan and you tell them how many lines you want, you tell them how many desk phones you want, and those are included with the cost of the plan. Another big benefit is no specialized knowledge needed to set up the system. If you're like me and you're a single person IT department and you don't have, vast knowledge of every single area of the IT world, right? It was really nice to be able to just get these phones, plug them in, go to their online portal, assign the extensions, and pretty much call it a day. And if I ever needed help, they've got great customer support. You can call them and they will walk you through the process and can do a lot of the stuff on their end actually for you. Phones can be used anywhere. This is really, really cool, and this is a big benefit to having a cloud-based system like this that's kind of managed for you on separate servers, is that I can take my desk phone, I'm looking over here because that's where my desk phone is, I can take my desk phone and theoretically go to Starbucks, and as long as they have an Ethernet port that's active, that doesn't have any special firewall rules or anything like that installed on it that would block voice over IP, I could theoretically plug my phone in and send and receive calls on my extension. Now obviously that's kind of a weird example. You probably shouldn't go to a Starbucks and do this, but where I do see it being a benefit is, think about right now, at the time of this recording anyway, there's a pandemic, unfortunately, and there's, people have to work from home. So if you could send some of your employees home and just say, hey, take your desk phone with you, they plug it in at home and they can still operate on their extension, that's pretty awesome, right? And it's great for small or single person IT departments. That's what I am. I'm a single person IT department. My IT, title is kind of an umbrella for a lot of things. I'm not only responsible for the network here at the business I work for, right? I'm also making sure that staff devices work. I'm also the one who runs the camera and audio for any content we put online, for podcasts that we do, for big, conferences, online conferences and stuff like that. And I also travel with the company to work with the medical simulators we use. So, I'm stretched pretty thin as far as where I can spend my time. So having an easy to use, basically plug and play phone system is just one more thing off my shoulder, right? When we moved into our new building, I didn't have to really worry about anything with the phone system. I could focus on getting all the computers and equipment in the office set up. So it's great. There are some downsides though. Obviously, you don't own the equipment. If you stop paying for this, you're done. Your phone service will at some point be shut off. They will require you to send the phones back. So if you were to cancel this plan, say, I don't want to work with Vonage anymore, just done, boom. You are left with zero. You don't own any of the phones or anything like that. So it's something to consider. And you do have a higher yearly and monthly cost associated with that because you're using their cloud service because you're using their phones that they're leasing to you, all that. Important to consider. So let's talk about pricing, as that's very important, especially for small businesses. I priced out the premium plan here you see on screen because that is the plan that, or it's the lowest plan that supports desk phones. And I'm assuming if you're a small business with multiple staff members and multiple offices inside a building, you're probably going to want desk phones, right? $29.99 per month per line or per extension. We get a $5 charge for your local number, and then $0 for each of the desk phones that are leased for free. Again, you're paying for that inside your $29.99 a month line, right? But for all intents and purposes, they're free. And there is a considerable list of taxes and fees. So I have our example on this slide here. This is what the small business I work for. This is their setup and what we pay. So we have 5 extensions. We have the auto attendant plus 4 staff for $135.23. Now, something to note right here. I'm going to circle this because I can, I think. Let's see. There we go. I got all the PowerPoint, right? Auto attendant counts as a line and you have to pay for it. So if you want a setup where someone dials your number, right, and a system picks up and goes, "Thank you for calling, company name, press 1 for this, press 2 for that, press 3 for that," you have to pay for a line for that, which I almost think is kind of, I don't want to say scammy because Vonage isn't a scam, but it's almost kind of, like a gotcha, you think, oh, I have 4 staff members, I'll just get 4 lines. Nope, you got to buy 5 lines to make sure you have that auto attendant, and you don't even get to hook up a phone to it. So kind of sucks, but something to consider. Local number, about $5.52 with tax. This one was included with tax as well. And then additional taxes and fees are $58.56. Now, obviously, this is going to depend on where you're from. As you can see, we have I'm in New York State, so we have some pretty high taxes in our area for pretty much everything. Certainly not as bad as like California, but we're up there. So we have a lot of state, city, county, and federal taxes, and then you also have to pay an E911 fee and a recovery fee. For us, that adds up to $58.56. For a total, we pay about $170 a month, or about $2,400 a year for our 4 lines, auto attendant, and local number, and cloud managed service. So you can judge for yourself whether that's worth it. I actually do think it's worth it. It does seem on the expensive side, but if you consider all that you're getting, especially with the customer support, no on-site equipment, and everything's pretty much plug and play, I don't know, you can make an argument for it, and we certainly do. But let's compare that to an on-site PBX, more traditional setup, right? So you could go and you could buy a Sangoma PBX 25 for $645. That includes 25 licenses, so you can add up to 25 phones without paying an extra monthly $29.99 a month like you do with Vonage. And for the phones, I went with 4 Polycom VVX 350 simply because that's what we get with Vonage. So I wanted to make it as comparable as possible. 4 of those would cost you $596. And with a SIP trunk provider, 25 to 30, maybe $40 for a comparable unlimited plan, depending on who you go with. And that's going to pay for itself in about 8 months. So in less than a year, you will make up the cost of this compared to paying Vonage. And then after that, you're just left with your SIP trunk provider fee. Now, it's important to note, you could build your own PBX system for way less than $645. And you could pick way cheaper phones too, right? I mean, these are like $140 a piece, maybe. I think that was kind of where they were. You could go with $50 phones, right? So you could get 4 $50 phones instead, and that's up to you. But I wanted to make this comparable in what you're getting. So again, pays for itself in 8 months. Already has 25 extensions included, more scalability. So let's talk about the benefits and downsides to that. Benefits: you own the equipment. No one can come and take it, assuming you've actually paid for it, which you do up front. If you decide to switch providers, right, you don't have to send all the equipment back and get new equipment. You can just switch over providers. It is less expensive in the long run. You do eat that upfront cost, but after that, it's the $25 to $30 a month for your SIP trunk provider. More customizable. Now, if you have very, very specific needs for your PBX system that aren't, kind of in the general pool of business phone functions, you're probably going to want to go with your own PBX system, because there are limits to what you can do with Vonage. Not a lot of limits, but there are some limitations. And way more efficient expansion, all right? So like I said with that Sangoma system, 25 licenses are included there. I mean, the example I showed you had 4 phones, right? But if you're growing, if you're like kind of a company that's hiring a lot of new staff pretty frequently, you're probably going to want to go with this, because imagine $25, or it'd be $29 a month for per extension for 25 extensions on Vonage is going to be one heck of a monthly phone bill. Downsides, higher upfront cost, you do have to eat that. Might make a difference, might not. Requires a higher level of skill and more time. Now, I'm not saying you need to be, have a master's degree in PBX. You certainly don't have to have a master's degree in PBX, but if you're a small company, you might have a limited IT department, and you might not have access to someone who has either the skill already to configure and manage a PBX system, or you just might not have someone who has the time to learn all that stuff, You might need your phone service up and running real quick. Must be maintained. That's not a huge deal, right? I mean, if you get like a Sangoma box set up correctly, you can pretty much let it go for long periods of time, just doing software updates and stuff like that. But something to consider. So really, it might not be super ideal for single-person IT departments, especially if you're like me, where I'm stretched super thin. So here's kind of where I justify everything, right? So I'm going to justify Vonage if you've got, like I just said, smaller single-person IT departments, 10 or less extensions, because as soon as you go above, 10 extensions, even at 10 extensions, you're going to have a heck of a monthly bill. So if you're going to add more than 10 people, I'd say switch on over to PBX that you host by yourself. Employees, company moves a lot. Basically what I'm saying here is if you have employees that switch offices, that working from home sometimes, coming back in other days, what have you, or if the company just doesn't stay in a building for very long, having Vonage is great, because you don't have to worry too much about configuration on the phone side of things or on a new network or what have you. But I will justify the Onsite PBX for if you have more than 10 extensions, because again, even with that Sangoma box, you're getting 25 included, so you can just add more users free of charge, assuming you buy the phones. Rapid growth and hiring, again, if you're adding new people a lot, it's going to be more efficient to have your own. If you need a bit more configuration, maybe your phone system's a bit more complicated than the average small business phone system, you can do that on your own PBX a lot easier than you're going to be able to do it with a Vonage. And if you have the adequate staff, so maybe you only have 4 people, right? Maybe you only have 4 lines that you need and an auto attendant. And maybe you're in this camp here of kind of super small business, small IT department, and only a few employees. But one of those IT employees, one or more of them, has adequate knowledge in PBX, you're still going to save money, right? Because it's going to be less expensive in the long run. So if you can do it, without too much trouble, I would definitely say go with this. However, if you don't, I'd say go with Vonage. All right, so that's pretty much it. Hopefully this video was helpful. Maybe it relayed some information to you with kind of my real-world example there. And maybe this helps you make a purchasing decision or something like that. If it does, leave a comment down below. If there's any additional information you want to add, certainly leave that down below as well. You can see the description where I'll put links to Vonage's services, so you can go check them out for yourself. And that's pretty much it. So let me know if you like these kind of presentation style videos. I actually kind of like them. PowerPoint's fun, right? Subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you in the next video.